Thank you, Darla. Here we are, gathered again without being in the same room. We can do this. We can show our strength. We can show our conviction as God's people. Music is an important part of what we do when we are together. Do want to share a couple announcement kind of things with you. Obviously, we are going to be doing this for sure again next Sunday, 10 o'clock. So we invite you to tune in then or check the Charge website or either of the church's Facebook pages. The service will be available there as well. We are considering exploring something for Easter Sunday because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to gather in our sanctuaries for that Sunday, although we haven't entirely given up hope of that. But if we can, then we're looking into doing an outdoor service where you will drive to the parking lot of Bethlehem Stonepile Church, stay in your car, and we will at least be able to wave to one another and remind one another that we are Christ's church. Whenever this is all over and we are actually able to be in our sanctuaries again, we're still going to have an Easter celebration service. Whatever Sunday that happens to be, our first Sunday back in our sanctuaries will be an Easter-style service. So we just wanted you to be aware. Keep checking the social media. We will be doing something to give to you on Good Friday. Such an important day in the life of the Christian experience. And again, maybe that outdoor service on Easter Sunday. So again, check the church's Facebook pages or the church's websites, and we'll keep you posted. It is important that those of you who do that let one another know, other people within the life of Bethlehem Stonepile-Springvale Church, because everyone in the church doesn't do social media. So you have to spread the word around about what we'll be doing. Dorothy's going to play another number for you. Thank you, Darla. Avery and March song, We Are the Church. Some of you may have heard that. Some of you may not have recognized that tune. But I want to remind you of some of the words that Avery and March put to that tune. The church is not a building. The church is not a steeple. The church is not a resting place. The church is a people. I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All who follow Jesus all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. So that's why we're able to do things like this. It is by far best when we can be in the same room in our sanctuaries, worshiping together. But it is still important to know that we are the church today. Now, I have always liked what I have always called contemporary words. And that's what refers to something that was written sometime after the Bible, because all of the contemporary words I have aren't really contemporary. Some of them are very old as well, but they're not scripture. But they still lead us to directions for living. I want to read one for you today. I keep a notebook of such inspirational words. Many of them I don't even remember where I found them or who wrote them. I just have them in this notebook. Well, this is such a reading. I don't know where I got it. I don't know who wrote it. But I think it's fitting. God bids me greet this day with a love-filled mind. How can I do this? Well, I will look for the good and beautiful to appreciate, which I usually take for granted in the busy rush of every day. Yet I will see in the unpleasant opportunities for good. I will be thankful for the sun, for it warms the earth and makes things grow. Yet I will love the rain, for wiping away the dust of the earth and cleansing my spirit. I will love light, for it illumines my way. Yet I will appreciate the darkness, for it shows me the stars. I will welcome happiness, for it fills my moments with joy and laughter. Yet I will accept sadness, for it opens the soul. I will receive humbly life's rewards. Yet I will face obstacles, for they become life's challenges. And we are facing those challenges now. God bids me greet this day with a love-filled mind. How then will I speak? When I am tempted to criticize, I will hold my tongue and not vocalize until I can think of something to commend. Always will I seek for actions to applaud. Never will I dig for excuses to gossip. I will be generous to my enemies, and they will more likely become my friends. I will encourage my friends, and they will become my brothers and sisters. God bids me greet this day with a love-filled mind. How then will I act? I will appreciate all kinds of people, for each contains an image of God. I will love the young for the idealism they emanate, yet I will love the old for the wisdom of their experience. I will love the beautiful, for they are often loved only for their beauty, yet I will love the ugly for the depth of soul they often achieve. I will appreciate the ambitious, for they inspire me, yet I will love the failures, for they teach me lessons. I will love the wealthy, for they are often courted only for their money, so they are lonely. Yet I will love the poor, for they are sad, depressed, and need concerned friends. I will love those in high positions, because the responsibilities of far-reaching decisions are burdensome. Yet I will love the meek, for they are divine. Hope you hear that. Those in governmental offices, those in the medical profession right now are facing some huge responsibilities, difficult decisions. Support them in prayer. God bids me greet this day with a love-filled mind. How then will I react to others? With love I will tear down the walls of suspicion and hate which they have built around their hearts, and in its place I will build a bridge so that my love may enter their souls. Just as love is a weapon to open the hearts of men, it is also a shield to blunt the arrows of hate and the spears of anger. Such love will protect me in the marketplace and calm me in time of tension. With such love will I walk unencumbered among all stations of people, and the shadows that I cast will ever lengthen. Would you bow with me a moment? Merciful God, we pray that you will hear our prayer. This day, our prayer for our world, for all who are suffering from the coronavirus, and for those who are closest to them. It is our prayer that those who are infected may receive the proper treatment, but also the comfort of your healing presence. As we worship today, we are asking that you would guide those who are striving to find a way to deal with this pandemic. Help us to rise above fear, though, and to stay committed to doing our part in this battle. And Father, may this worship be a time for us to discover you. And may that discovery bring us inner strength for times such as this. Amen. Now again, if we were together, this would be about the time we would be offering our greetings to one another. Call it the passing of the peace, if you will. Obviously, again, we can't do that, but my challenge today is the same as last week. When this is done, when this worship service is over, go call someone from your congregation. Call them, let them know you're thinking of them. Remember those who are lonely or alone. Just call and wish somebody the best this day. You can still pass the peace of God to one another, even though we are not together. From Philippians, I wanted to share these verses, very familiar ones, but again, very fitting for times such as this. This is from the 4th chapter, beginning with the 4th verse. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. Hear Paul's word there, because we're going to be saying more about that. I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I don't know whether you remember high school speech classes. I don't know whether they still have high school speech classes. But when I was in high school, we did. Terrifying times. Had to give a certain number of speeches during the course of the semester. I remember at least 4 of them. I remember an introduction speech, obviously sometime during the beginning of the semester, when we introduced ourselves to our class, told something about ourselves. There was a demonstration speech. We had to demonstrate something, show how to make something or do something. Our teacher had us do an extemporaneous speech. That is, he gave us a subject, gave us a few minutes to think about it, and then we had to talk about it for a few minutes. That was a tough one. And then we had a persuasion speech, where we had to persuade our class about something. I was thinking of that, and it came to my realization that I have been doing persuasion speeches all of my ministry. That's what a sermon is, a persuasion speech. Well, today I want you to persuade you in this most difficult and unprecedented time that you can still find happiness and contentment, and where they can be found. So many times we are always just a little short of being happy or content. You talk to students who are graduating from high school, and certainly their graduation is affected this year. It can be different. But you talk to them about what their plans are, and a lot of them will say they want to find a job where they can make some money. But you know, someday they're going to discover that regardless of how much money they have made, that doesn't necessarily bring happiness and contentment. You've heard of Bernard Baruch. He was a rich man. He was a financier, a philanthropist. He lived from about 1870 to 1965. Sometimes an advisor to presidents, to Woodrow Wilson or to FDR. I remember reading that once Bernard Baruch was asked, well, how much more money do you need? You know what his answer was? Just a little bit more. Well, that's the way we are with finances. They don't bring contentment. Sometimes we look for happiness in being busy. Always have to be doing something. That's difficult right now. With this sheltering in place, how do we entertain ourselves during this social distancing time? How do we find things to do? Gotta be honest, I am guilty. I find myself just pacing around my house sometimes because I want something to do. I want to see somebody. I want to be with you people again, the people of Bethlehem, Stonepile-Springvale churches. With all this searching, it is hoped that we discover that happiness and contentment are elusive when that is really just what we're looking for. We've been talking about the servant heart thing. That's where happiness and contentment are found, in giving ourselves to one another. I believe that God never intended for his creation to be just seekers of happiness. We are to be seekers of God. So that's first and foremost in where contentment is found. The psalmist said, happy are the people whose God is the Lord. Happiness and contentment come from the recognition that there is a power beyond ourselves. And we need to know that in times such as this. You know the story of the rich young ruler in Matthew 19. He came to Jesus really looking for happiness, contentment, looking for what was next in life. And Jesus talked to him about the commandments, and Jesus even listed some of them to him. And the rich young man said, well, I've kept all those things all my life. What do I still lack? And in Matthew 19, Jesus answered, if you want to be perfect, then go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will receive treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me. But he didn't, because the riches were too important to him. Zacchaeus, just short of happiness and contentment. He was rich. He could buy probably anything he wanted, but something was still lacking. So when he heard about Jesus coming, he climbed that tree to see Jesus, and there in that interaction, he found happiness and contentment. When we give God the proper place in our lives, we find happiness and contentment. I believe that. But we also have to look inside ourselves. See, happiness and contentment are not always based on what happens to us. How many people who seem to have everything and yet have no contentment? I once was visiting with an older woman named Rosie. By the time I knew her, she was in a convalescent home. Dear, dear lady. But one of the days I visited, we were just talking about how she was dealing with being there. And I will always remember what she said. She said, well, Bud, this isn't home, but I have learned to be content. And I thought, wow, how impressive that is. Contentment. We need to look inside to see how God can strengthen us. There's an old poster that used to be around quite often. It just said, God, help me remember that nothing is going to happen to me today that you and I can't handle together. Contentment. Circumstances come and go, but the presence of the Lord is constant. We need to look inside ourselves to find that contentment. We need to look inside ourselves to see what we have to offer, even in times such as this. Too often we think we have nothing to give, nothing to offer. We're like Moses. When God called Moses to do the thing of leading the Israelite people out, Moses didn't feel adequate. Said he couldn't speak well enough. But God one time said to Moses, what's that in your hand? Moses said, just a staff. Well, you know the story. That staff did a lot. It was the staff that became a snake. It was a staff that Moses held out over the Red Sea and parted the waters. It was the staff that struck the rock and brought water to the Israelite people as they needed that. That staff became an important part of leading the Israelite people. Moses held a lot more than he figured. David had only a sling, yet killed the giant Goliath that had been terrorizing the Israelite camp. That sling did more than David figured. The widow had only 2 small coins, but that was enough to impress Jesus as she offered them. We need to look inside and see what we can give the world. And in doing that, in offering our servant hearts, that's where you're going to find the contentment, even for times such as this. You find happiness in giving yourself to some cause beyond yourself. Most all of the TV stations are offering a commercial in one fashion or another where it says, we are not alone in this. As the church, we should already know that. We have God and we have each other. We are a fellowship. And though we can't be together and shake hands or hug like we normally would, we are still a fellowship. That's what a man named Jesse Bader writes, and I want you to hear his words. The greatest thing about the early Christians was not their wealth. For the most part, they were poor. They were not distinguished for their scholarship, for their scholastic learning. Many of them were unlettered. They were not known for their high social position in the Roman world. Most of them belonged to the working class. There was one distinguishable characteristic by which they were known: fellowship. Pentecost had separated these early disciples of Jesus Christ into a church and bound them together in an unbreakable fellowship. It was said of them that they were all with one accord in one place. It is comparatively easy to get Christians in one place. Well, maybe not today. But to get Christians in one place with one accord is not always easy. But the fellowship of the early Christians was a fellowship of faith. Not only did they belong to something, they believed something. Their fellowship was a fellowship of prayer. They advanced on their knees. And their fellowship was a fellowship of love. They possessed the compassionate servant heart. They cared. They looked out for those in need. They were so different from those around them that they were looked upon as a third race. They were a fellowship. And so are we. Give God the proper place in your life. Give yourself, even in these times, to something beyond yourself. If nothing else, cooperate with this sheltering, this being a part with as positive an attitude as you can. Give yourself to being one with a servant heart. May I persuade you that there you will find happiness and contentment, even in times such as this. I want to close with some words from William and Gloria Gaither. You'll recognize. All my tomorrows, all my past, Jesus is Lord of all. I've quit my struggles, contentment at last. Jesus is Lord of all. All my conflicts, all my thoughts, Jesus is Lord of all. His love wins the battle I could not have fought. Jesus is Lord of all. All of my longings, all of my dreams, Jesus is Lord of all. All of my failures, his power redeems. Jesus is Lord of all. King of kings, Lord of lords, Jesus is Lord of all. All my possessions and all my life, Jesus is Lord of all. May it be so for us. I wish God's blessing upon you so that even in this time, you can know some measure of happiness and contentment. Amen. Now I invite you to go call someone. Let them know they are in your thoughts. Go in peace.